It reminded me a year or so ago, I was at the Cascade Theater, and we were watching this dance group, and oh, I love to dance, and I'm looking at that, and I'm feeling sad, because I could have done that, you know? I could have done that. And I'm sitting there feeling sad, and this big voice goes, "Mary, you already did that." In another life, I don't know. But it was clear, Woo! Isn't that funny? Don't spend time whining about that. All right, well, the topic of this talk is simple acceptance. Jesus likened the kingdom of heaven to a child because children have this simple expectation that their parents will take care of them. And we have also great faith in the nature of God, especially as practitioners. We know that the infinite mind, the creativity, the creative energy of infinite mind always meets our needs. Now, if you've been a practitioner, you've been doing this a while, you prove it to yourself enough that we just have a simple acceptance of that. But the creative mind of God is a field of energy that accepts our thoughts and beliefs without question. Then that field of energy attracts like energy, bonds with it, and then gives to us, through manifestation of some way, shape, or form, what our desire is, good or bad. So the way we think about things is very important. Whatever we've been focusing on, positive or negative, you'll have more of it. Because our beliefs get stored. We have our conscious mind that we're thinking with right now, and then we have the subconscious mind, which has stored every thought, belief, experience that we've ever had over the soul's journey. And when we believe it deep enough, these beliefs go into subconscious mind and they stay there and they continue to be part of the creative energy in our life. Those beliefs in subconscious mind don't get analyzed, they just get accepted as they are. So there's 3 points to remember if we really want to change our life, that all space is filled with this creative energy. Every nook and cranny around us. What we don't see is still filled with energy. And this energy is amenable to suggestion. It doesn't take your one thought and say you can never change that. It's amenable to suggestion. So we can change that. We can change the basis of the energy of our beliefs. But this energy only does that by a deductive method, and I'll tell you more about that later. But let's look at point number 1, all space is filled with creative energy. It's the way the universe exists. It's all creative energy, and it's interdependent relationships. It's this invisible force that flows in, through, and around us that's always in movement. Like our body is always creating new cells, millions of new cells every day, every month, every year. Why we get old, now that's a race consciousness belief, but that's a whole other story. But it carries unlimited creative potential. And it also implies that we can shift our belief because it doesn't make the past equally true in the present. So if you did something in the past and it didn't work, it doesn't mean you shouldn't try again. The past is not a precedent. It means you, yes, change your thinking, shift your thoughts, shift your beliefs, and try again. So it also works in conjunction with spiritual principles like oneness. We believe it's all one, this big field, it's all one. And so if we don't believe it's not all one, it shifts the results that we get. Another spiritual principle is goodness. In the end, trust the process because goodness is the result. Trust the process. And sometimes that's very challenging to do. The other spiritual principle that applies here is freedom. We are free to choose. We are free to choose, we're free to change our mind, we're free to do whatever we think is appropriate for our life. Because this power, this energy field, takes our word for it and goes, okay. It's not going to judge it, it's not going to say, boy, that was not a real bright thing to think about. You want to change your mind? No, it's just, okay, that's it. Jesus said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So the energy can be to us only what we say we desire or what we say we believe. Holmes described it as seed, soil, plant. Our thoughts are like seeds, and if you plant a watermelon seed, you're going to get a watermelon. If you plant a kernel of corn, you're going to get corn, unless you're a poor gardener like me and you get a bizarro piece of corn. Anyway, that was a whole different story. But we plant this seed, and we water it with our thoughts. If you've ever been wondering, single and looking for a relationship, and you're daydreaming the right and perfect guy, and then you're afraid of the wrong and unperfect guy, and which one takes your focus? Which one do you focus on? The traits of the right and perfect guy or the traits you want to avoid? Interesting question. So we, through experience, learn how this works. Personally, I've learned how that worked when I was single. So we can read all about it, but when we tangibly experience it, sometimes it doesn't seem real. Like in a class we did recently, somebody had an experience. I said, well, remember a couple weeks ago when you said this? Oh, didn't connect the dots. Well, we call it the law of cause and effect. Our mind is energy. It's casual energy, but it's energy. Our mind is energy. So we plant seeds in our mind that something is good or something is bad, or somebody is right or somebody is wrong. That energy brings like energy together to manifest our desire. So we have the seed of our thought, the soil, which is the creative power of subconscious mind, and then a plant shows up, an experience shows up, something shows up. Sometimes we don't connect the two. So what we're experiencing is the effects of our mind. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I shared that how we individually contribute to a shift in humanity's evolution on a national scale. What we hear and see in the news are effects of somebody's mind. When a large number of people have negative thought processes, energy says, okay. Today, that effect is very divisive in our country, and you know that, I know that. If we think any segment of society is crazy or worthless or however we negatively think about anybody in our society, we're preaching oneness, and yet how easy it is to discount other people or groups of people. It's very divisive. We talk about inclusivity, and yet we can go out into the world and maybe say, but if those people weren't here, so it gets mixed up. It gets very mixed up. Right now, as a society, we have quite a ways to go to really say we're one with each other. We're really inclusive. In our neighborhood, maybe in the church, I don't know. Anywhere in life where you're participating with other people, how inclusive do you feel? In the late 1800s, early 1900s, there were a number of people who were discovering and sharing this information, that our beliefs are cause, they're energy and they're cause, and they create effects. And it was blossoming in the US and all over Europe. It was a very exciting time. In the US, we called it New Thought, and in England, they called it Higher Thought. But it was the same thing. And these people began connecting with each other and connecting and sharing experiences. They were proving it to themselves. They didn't have the scientific knowledge we have today. They were proving it to themselves. People like Quimby, Mary Baker Eddy, Emma Curtis Hopkins, Troward, Emerson, and on and on. Great minds sharing great understandings. So now today, I'm glad to be alive because more people are providing scientific evidence that it's true. You know, actually, I have a book that was written in the 50s at Redlands University. The psychology professor knew Ernest Holmes and said, I'm going to do a scientific study, organized it scientifically, on regular prayer versus spiritual mind treatment, and the results of that proved the capacity of using spiritual mind treatment to get a lot more good effects, a lot more good experiences in our lives. Great book to read. Lately, some of you have been going to the Dr. Joe Dispenza classes and are sharing with Sue and I this amazing new information that the energy in our mind results in manifesting wonderful things in our lives. And Sue and I are like, yeah, law of cause and effect, yeah. Been teaching it for decades, yeah. So if we don't get real excited, it's just that we kind of got it. We've been using it. But you know, sometimes someone comes along like Dr. Joe with different words, different processes, different experiences, and we go, oh my God, I've got it. And I love that because we have people come in and, oh my God, it's great, it's great. And Sue and I are going, yeah, yeah. And it is great. Because finally you get it, you know, hallelujah. Sometimes it takes a while. So the second point is this creative energy is amenable to suggestion. And that's one of the reasons we do a lot of reading about early New Thought authors. Troward is one of them, or Emerson's another one. Emma, dear Emma, because their personal discoveries continue to inspire us today. Last week was the last course in the Prosperity Plus class I was doing, Mary Mann Morrissey's Prosperity Plus. Great, great program. And it's all about finding out where we've planted negative seeds and then overriding those with good affirmations. And by the end of the class, students had 12 different processes they could use to shift the beliefs and subconscious mind to lift them up, have a greater experience in life, in whatever area of life, whether it was a car or a relationship or a job. In the process of doing that, she had a little book that she required us to read, Your Invisible Power by Genevieve Behrend. Genevieve was the only student that Thomas Troward ever had and ever would allow. This is in the early 1900s. Genevieve, at that time, read Troward's book, The Edinburgh Lectures, and she was so impressed. She said, I have got to study with that man. And he was in England. She's in New York. She says, I've got to study with this man. This is the most impressive, powerful process I've ever read about. And so she found out how much it would cost to go to England by steamship and live there, and it was $20,000 she figured that she needed. Now this is 1912. She kept writing letters to Troward, and he would never answer. So she went, I'm going to do it anyway. So every morning and every night, she imagined she was counting out $1,000 bills, $20,000 bills. She visualized herself walking up the plank to get on the steamship. She visualized herself sitting in his room, in his office, and hearing his words and learning from him. And in 6 weeks, in 1912, she had $20,000. And she said, I'm going to do it. And she went to England. She got a place to live, and she started sending him, what was it at the time? Yeah, telegrams, things like that. She's like, I'm here, I'm ready. And he didn't answer. Finally, he was like, okay already. So he invited her over, and that began a 2-year student-teacher process. And that's what this book is all about. And it's so cute because Troward had a real cute way about him. And so it's wonderful to see it from her point of view. In 1902, I kind of spaced this part. In 1902, Miss Alice Caro was the head of the Higher Thought Center in England. And that was a place where people would go. It was a house, and they had many rooms, and they had podium and chairs, and they had a library, and a place where you could learn all about metaphysics, higher thought. And so one day, she was in a tea room, and she saw this very lovely gentleman sitting there writing. So she's peeking over, looking at some of the words he's writing. And she goes, "Sir, are those words from higher thought?" And he said, "Ma'am, they're not lower thought." And that began this wonderful relationship with her. And he spoke a lot at this society they had and became very, very, very famous. One of the things he said is, when you're doing this process of inviting your words into the creative mind to manifest for you, keep all excitement out of your voice. Because what is excitement? It's about what if. We want to know what is. He said, what we should say in our words is, this result is perfectly natural. No need for excitement. It's so perfectly natural for us. Because we understand the proper relationship between our thoughts, creative mind, and manifestation in our life. He said, we're all intelligent beings, and this creative energy is also intelligent. And so we have to cooperate together. I've had some experiences in my life that blow my mind because I would have not thought of it manifesting that way, and it was always greater than I could have imagined. It's very interesting. And I remember when I was going to Ohio State, and I wish I had taken sociology, but I took sawmill management. And it was hard. I mean, chemistry, physics, statistics, And I kept saying to my husband, I just want a 3.0. I just want a 3.0. And when I graduated, 3.1. Why didn't I say 3.5? You know? Why? I don't know. So anyway, after 2 years of study with Trower, Genevieve returned to New York, and she opened up a New Thought school. And she taught there for 10 years. And then she went to LA and opened up another New Thought school. That's 1915, that's 1925. This was one strong lady. After that, she traveled the whole country for 35 years teaching mental science. And some of us are just hearing this now, thanks to Dr. Joe. So it's interesting. Point number 3, the creative process only works by deductive methods. In this little book, she writes, we each hold the key that unlocks the secret chamber to our heart's desire. I like that, right? That kind of writing, the secret chamber to our heart's desire. By using this key, all things are possible. Because subconscious mind only responds deductively. That means if I say blue, it goes, sure. If I say black, sure. If I say I like this, I get more of it. If I say I don't like this, I get more of that. It doesn't analyze. It doesn't say, oh, Mary, go back to bed. You know, think this through a little bit. No, it just deductively responds. And so that's where we have to be very careful what we're thinking, what we're sharing with others about the world, what we're sharing with others about anything. Are we ready for the whiplash? It will be there. Genevieve, bless her heart, encourages us to make careful inquiry into unseen causes. And what she means is the unseen causes are the beliefs that are in subconscious mind that we long forgot about. In Prosperity Plus, well, my mom always told me I wasn't worth anything. Well, my mom always told me I was never going to make it in anything. And all of a sudden, through this process in Prosperity Plus, that memory is so embedded in subconscious mind, it overrides everything. And so what we want to do is find out what's there. What is it that we long forgot about? I can still see when I was 2 years old being held by my uncle as my father put all his emphasis on my brother. And I can see my face in that photo and know exactly what I was thinking. Not good enough. Not good enough for Dad. It's amazing. It gets buried. So these processes are there to help lift it up because we can make a new road in that consciousness. We can create a new belief and override that. The analogy that my next class uses, it's called Practical Mysticism, with a book by Carolyn Myss, The Interior Castles. It was an enlightenment experience of St. Teresa of Avila, and she wrote a book about the interior castles. So there's 7 castles we're going to go through, and each castle has different rooms. And we're going to enter these rooms and dig around there in subconscious mind and find out what is it that's there that's always checking my goodness, that's always limiting my goodness or limiting that, because it's there and it's still impacting us. And I don't want to say I dare you to take it, but if you're ready, please join us. It's a fascinating process. It's powerful. It will change your life, no doubt about it, because we're carving new roads in consciousness. If we planted thoughts of anger, judgment, or fear about anything, anyone, or any place, Raymond Charles Barker used to say, if you got a problem, something must be done in your mind. And he meant that. Something must be done in our mind. So we use spiritual practices. We do meditation, we do spiritual mind treatment, visualization, contemplation. All those things help empower us to present creative mind with more good for us to do. Genevieve recommended that for every 5 minutes we spend reading, how many hours a day do you read? Several. We should spend 15 minutes applying that knowledge. Yes, 5 minutes of reading, 15 minutes to apply the knowledge. I'm way behind on that one. But she's right. Because to make all this happen in a beautiful way, it takes mental action, but it also takes physical action. So you want a healthier body. Did you go walking this morning? What did you eat yesterday? You know, those type of things. And I'm behind on that with all the smoke. Paul walks 2.5 miles. I'm going, it's too smoky. I'm really in the negative on that. So I've got to get going here pretty soon and work on that. So it's not just physical things, it's not just mental things, it's the combination of things. Then we start paying attention to the sprouts. I like it. Mary Morrissey says, look for the sprouts. So if you're looking for a relationship and you've got the qualities of the person you want, as well as the qualities you don't want, look at what's showing up. Those are the sprouts. And then you'll get clearer on only looking for the good things that you want to show up. You want those to blossom. So if you see your life in this way, it's going to shift dramatically. And it's very exciting, just like Joe Dispenza teaches, very exciting when we know that we are the ones in charge of this. When we remember that all the space is filled with the creative energy of God, creative energy is amenable to our suggestions, to our new way of seeing, and it works by deductive methods. And the title of this was Simple Acceptance. If you can simply accept that, what a great relief it will be in your life. Genevieve writes, begin today creating your tomorrows greater than your yesterdays. The best there is will gradually grow in place of the worst that seemed to be. Great advice. And Troward, he's so direct. There is no deception quite as great as self-deception, and it's quite dangerous. In order to stop deceiving ourselves regarding any uncomfortable situations, the first step only requires that we're willing to see and honestly entertain what's in our mental household. So if we're putting negativity stuff out there, are we really willing to entertain that in our experience? The change must come from within our own consciousness, because it's true, as Jesus said, it is done unto us as we believe. Now, good news, I happen to have 3 of Genevieve's books. And if you're interested in having one of her books, tackle me up here. I have 3, but we'll be ordering more, but these 3 are my gifts to you. And we'll pray. It's really fun to think about setting a new road in consciousness. It's infinitely open to the greater good. Because we do believe in oneness. We believe we're all interacting with each other, not only physically, but at a cellular level, that the field of energy in the universe is all connected. By knowing that, we create our happy moments, we create our sad moments. We contribute to the greater good or not. But we always can shift our mind. We can always shift our beliefs to the greatness of the infinite intelligence that created us. So I accept that for everyone here today, as I accept it for myself. Be the guardian of my mind this week. Fill those empty spaces with goodness, graciousness, love, peace, beauty, joy. And in that acceptance, we look for the sprouts, and they are popping up everywhere. And we say, thank you. This is the truth, and it's the truth that sets us free. I embrace it totally for myself and for you. And so it is. Thank you.